Blanke. Good afternoon. Many fascinating things have been said, and I'm also going to start with experience, the experience of the two works yesterday, and maybe to start out with, I want to bring one notion. Of course, I agree with the notion of darkness and with the term of blindness that is in these works, and that disappears progressively. But I would like to bring the term of self. This is what came at the end, that the viewer, the spectator, becomes always observing and is more and more pulled into this, and that there is the visitor going back and forth. And I think it's a very important element, and I hope I can show you also today in some ways how a neuroscientist, I'm a neurologist by training, but I do cognitive psychology, neuroscience experiments, where we try to maybe test similar things in the laboratory. And of course, a very different setting, but maybe the artwork that we saw, the artworks we saw yesterday, are also experiments in a way, and this is a very interesting point that I saw. So in addition, I had to pick out one experience that was striking for me, and of course the body. And I'm going to talk again about the link between the body and the self. And the notion I marked here on top is, of course, that the artwork is embodied by the bodies of a group of dancers, but they turned their backs to us. I caught one moment where one of them, actually we both were sitting at the same spot, and one of them was looking at us.
She was looking at me, actually.
Philosophers. And so this is, I think, if one looks at other works, and of course variation is another extreme form. We are in complete darkness, but in the Giardinis, what we saw, the back is turned at us, the gaze is averted, we never see them exactly at that one moment. They do look at each other, so there's a very tight connection between them, but we are isolated, visually and socially excluded. That is at least my feelings, until that one person looked at you, that even more excluded. And then, so we are blind, we are getting partial information, and I think we were on the outside and the backs were on the inside, and another, instead of allowing something to rise up to your face dancing, a piece from 2005, it was the opposite. I think I didn't see it in London, but the viewers on the inside and the dancers are on the outside. In this variation, it's taken to an extreme form. We have heard a lot about it. There is a loss of self when you walk in. And you are, I think it came up yesterday, we're brought back to a very low-level notion of body and self, a very visceral, interoceptive self. That's all we're left with. I hear, and normally the brain is very poorly equipped with localizing myself right now here in space if I would be sitting in the dark. The sounds do not really help because they are moving all the time. So a very disconcerting self-location, a mislocation, while there is humming, chanting, very bodily sounds actually produced around me. But then, of course, the visual system, the retina-based system of the brain adapts to this, and shadows start to appear, and I can become progressively a part of this. So how can we test in the laboratory these flips between the visceral self being thrown back to my bodily feelings to visual, exteroceptive notions? A simple experiment that one can do, I show it here on the screen. I'm happy to demonstrate it during the cocktails. It's going to work much easier, but so the hidden hand, there is a hidden hand, which is the real hand of the subject on the left, but then there is a fake hand, the visual object. And the visual object dominates very strongly where our hand is. And I can tell you more about it. I show it here because vision dominates feeling of where my hand is. And there is the case of phantom limbs, where this is taken as a clinical case to an extreme example. I feel a hand, although physically I don't see, and there is nothing actually present. And I think it's those really low-level, visceral self-mechanisms, internal mechanisms that the art of Tina Segal interacts with. Excuse me, I'm an experimental researcher, so I have to refer at least here to one study we performed. So this is how we took the phantom limb experiments to a phantom body experiment. So we do something very similar, like the small demonstration I can do at 5:30 if you want. But what we did is we filmed. We had a camera in the back. The back was filming the green body, and the green body, the green person, our experimental subject, was wearing a set of head-mounted displays, And what that person then sees is what the camera sees, a body standing 2 meters in front. And what we did is we touched the back, so you feel the back being touched, but you see it 2 meters in front. And what we could observe is two things. First of all, people, and I think I have one animation here, people start, when you are in this experiment on the upper left, they start to feel that they are touched at the body that they see and not at the body where they should feel it, namely their own body. So there is a very quick, again, dominance of vision over what we feel. And in Tino Segal's work, when we enter the dark room, we feel this body, this visceral self immediately, and it's only progressively that something maybe like this switch here happens as well. And for those who are interested, those blue and red regions is one of the regions which is activated dependingly how strong you feel this notion. An amateur's view of what could be linked to these back views again that I started with. On the right, the video corridor from Bruce Naumann, René Magritte could also be cited. A forbidden reproduction, if you want. This back view is again apparent. I think we used it in our experiments. Don't really remember why we ended up showing our back views in these experiments, but it seems to work or be more powerful in this back view projection in order to have these flips. Again, these visitors going back and forth, visitors of our experiment in this case. And that, I think I finished with this. This is one art explorations that I was fortunate to do with the Swiss-English artist Nicole Oettinger. She actually used our setup, meaning she was blind when she was making a self-portrait that I will show now. So she was doing this is accelerated. She was drawing herself, looking from the camera in a back view, just like in our experiments. And she's using this setup, blinding herself because she doesn't see what she draws unless she sees it from the camera standing behind her. And she's using this setup in order to be closer, if you want, in order to be blind. I think Derrida, the name was felt, he famously claimed also that self-portraits need to be blind. So she is extending this as a new form of producing self-portraits. And I think I've already taken too much time. But again, for me, one important notion that I heard is this flipping back and forth, being part of the installation and observing. And I think the important part that we're trying to achieve in the lab is this kind of switch and control over the switch. Thank you.